The most formidable empress in history did not receive a peaceful death, but her legacy was attacked by a persistent falsehood. On a frozen November morning in 1796, Catherine the Great passed away within the walls of the Winter Palace. This was a place that had witnessed great turning points, yet it now saw an end that would launch a major historical scandal. Her body had failed her due to a sudden illness, but the damage to her reputation began just hours later. It started as a quiet rumor in the palace halls, a falsehood that would outlive the empire itself. Before we uncover the truth behind this story, I want to know, where are you watching from right now? Comment your city or country below. It's truly fascinating to see how far these histories travel, connecting us all through stories of the past. Catherine lay unconscious. Court physicians stood by, unable to help. They knew the reality. Her 34-year reign, a period of significant expansion and change, was ending. By the next morning, she was gone. And in the silence that followed, a new and inaccurate narrative began to spread. This new story did not mention her military successes against the Ottomans. It ignored the cultural developments she supported and the institutions she founded. The world seemed to forget the educated ruler and the empire she worked to build. Instead, it repeated a fictional account that was designed to overshadow everything she had achieved. Servants began to talk. The rumor claimed she had not died from natural illness. They said her end was connected to a horse. The details changed with each telling. In one version, a mechanical device was involved. In another, it was a search for an unusual experience. But the conclusion was always the same: an accident where the empress was fatally injured. It was a story that defied practical reality. And that is exactly why it spread so widely. A scandal of that nature was hard to ignore. It moved from St. Petersburg's high society to the meeting places of Paris and London, until the invented story became more famous than the real woman it misrepresented. But why was this particular falsehood so quickly accepted? To understand the misinformation, you must first understand the remarkable woman who was its target. Catherine was not born into power. She entered this world as Sophie of Anhalt-Zerbst, a minor German princess from a small state. But European politics often pulls unlikely people into positions of great influence. At the age of 14, she was chosen as a potential bride for the Russian heir, Peter. Her father gave her one important piece of advice: you must become Russia. And so she did, with great determination. She traveled to a new country, changed her religion, and took a new name, Catherine. Her marriage, however, was difficult. Peter was unpredictable and openly disrespectful toward her. He seemed more interested in his hobbies than in learning to rule. For a long time, their marriage was not a true partnership, which was a serious problem for her position. Yet every difficulty only strengthened her resolve. She focused her energy, mastered the Russian language, studied books on philosophy and government, and quietly built a network of supporters that her husband failed to notice. She was creating a base of influence strong enough to support a ruler. The turning point came in 1761. Empress Elizabeth died, and Peter III became the new ruler. His time in power was marked by poor decisions. He upset the powerful Orthodox Church, praised Russia's rival Prussia, and made it clear he planned to remove Catherine from his life. He did not realize the capable leader he had beside him. For 17 years, she had observed, learned, and prepared. And when Peter moved against her, she acted first. With the support of the Imperial Guard and the Orlov brothers, she took the throne in a swift political change. Peter was forced to give up the crown and died shortly after under unclear circumstances. A German princess was now the leader of the largest land empire on earth. Some never forgive a woman for succeeding. And this is the environment where the false stories would grow. A woman who gained power in such a direct way was not allowed an untarnished legacy. Her rule began with great energy. There was no slow start. She governed with immediate and firm authority. The Russia she led was a vast and complicated territory, and she aimed to unite it into a powerful force. She fought wars against the Ottoman Empire, weakening their power and gaining control of Crimea. She took part in dividing Poland, which removed it as an independent country. Her goals were vast. She even imagined restoring the old Byzantine Empire for her grandson. At the same time, she pursued cultural growth. She collected art on a grand scale.
Her purchases so extensive they needed a new building. The Hermitage Museum was created. She exchanged letters with great thinkers like Voltaire and Diderot, making Russia a place of intellectual exchange. But this cultured surface hid a difficult reality for many. Millions of serfs lived in very hard conditions. In 1773, a Cossack named Pugachev started a major uprising, pretending to be Peter III returned to life. Catherine stopped the rebellion with firm action. Pugachev was captured and executed. His followers were punished as a warning to others. The educated ruler also had a determined strength. This combination was the source of her power. She knew that leadership needed both intellectual vision and firm action. This same practical approach defined her personal relationships. Her close companions were well known, and she managed these relationships with strategic thought. Some, like Grigory Orlov, helped her gain the throne. Others, like Grigory Potemkin, became long-term partners in leadership, even after their personal relationship changed. She provided for them well and ensured their positive standing after their time together ended. But other European leaders, who had their own complex personal lives, judged her harshly. A woman who held power was a challenge to them. A woman who managed her personal life independently was a target for criticism. This double standard became the tool used to attack her reputation. The disapproval built up over many years, waiting for an opportunity. That opportunity came with her death. The official record is clear: a stroke, a loss of consciousness, a natural death in her bed. But her son, Paul, who had a strained relationship with her, did not defend her reputation, and her enemies in a changing Europe, who disliked her power, saw their chance. They could not defeat her in life, so they targeted her historical standing. The initial gossip about her companions was not damaging enough. To truly diminish her, the story had to be unforgettable in its negative impact, and so the final extreme fiction was created. The story about the horse was effective in its intent. It was memorable and designed for one purpose: to turn a brilliant political leader into an object of mockery. It spread not because it was true, but because people were ready to believe it. It was easier to focus on a fictional personal failing than to acknowledge a female leader whose achievements surpassed those of many male rulers. Powerful women are often challenged, not by physical force, but by damaging narratives, and narratives can live on without proof. The myth has lasted for over 200 years, appearing in modern jokes and online content, a clear sign of how long a false story can endure. But when you look past the layers of this invented tale, you find a much more interesting and nuanced truth. Catherine the Great was a leader of great complexity, both firm and cultured, a modernizer and a traditionalist in different ways. Her real story of expansion, cultural development, and political skill is ultimately more impressive than any invented fiction. Her opponents could not accept the full reality of her capabilities, so they tried to hide it under a simple and negative legend. But the truth, no matter how long it is covered, has a way of eventually coming to light. If this exploration of a misunderstood legacy was interesting to you, please support our channel. Liking this video and subscribing to Shadow of History directly helps us grow and continue to bring you more stories from the overlooked corners of history.